Okay, so our legacy, how we built and become a part of this family business. This was been in Greenville for 52 years. Let's talk about us. Let's talk about our legacy, what that looks like, and what we want it to continue to look like.
I would start off with talking about your dad, how he started the business and what his passions were, and then we can talk about what our passions are. Because every generation has a different outlook on things, but yet they're similar too.
Yes, it's funny to tell you a story how my dad started this business. He basically traded a camera for a pellet gun, and that's how he got started. And so this was in the early 70s. Mm-hmm. And so he just kind of went from there. And I remember the story of him one day saying he came home and he told my mom, hey, and he was a truck driver at the time. And he said, this was Gulf Oil, said they gave me a 6-month leave of absence to try photography. And if it don't work, I can always go back in 6 months. Mm-hmm. And well, that wasn't the case. He actually quit his job. And that's funny because that goes right back to the conversation you and I had, I think yesterday morning when I was having coffee, is as entrepreneurs, as business owners, sometimes you have to burn the bridges. You have to say, this is where I'm going and I'm not going back.
Yeah.
You have to burn that bridge. And it's funny because that's what my dad did. He took a chance. He burnt that bridge and said he left his job. He started in photography, and 52 years later, well, here we are running this family business of portrait photography, and now our kids are working here this summer.
It's really cool to see that happen.
So,
and whether they want to pursue it or not, that's completely up to them. And your dad was the same way. Whether my kids wanted to pursue it or not, this is something that I'm passionate about, and I want to instill in them. Hard work and passion was his goal. All in all, that was his goal. I can't even imagine what your mom felt like with 2 small kids, him coming at her and saying, this is what I'm going to do, and we've got to make it work.
At that time, it was 3.
It was 3. Okay,
kids.
so it was 3 small kids, and you hadn't come into the picture yet.
No.
And so literally Alex grew up in this business from the very get-go. This is all he knows, for the most part, as far as, work and passion and love for this portrait studio. He grew up in it. So I remember you talking about you would help your dad go to weddings early on as a kid, carrying equipment and then photographing full-blown weddings when you couldn't even drive. You were 15. Who wants a 15-year-old photographing their wedding? But nobody really knew it, because he loved what he did at the time.
But the thing is, my parents were full believers in child labor of their own children. So I started work when I was literally 8, carrying those bags, and it was a way of life.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. Even when I was 8, I was like, man, I'm making $5.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It was
$5
cool.
was a lot of money. But some of the experiences that I've had along the way, because I remember I was about 9. Now, I wasn't able to participate in this, but it was a big deal when my dad photographed a sitting president of the United States. I mean, that was a big deal. He got picked up that morning by Secret Service at our house, and it was just cool to be a part of that and see that. And there's just been incredible experiences along the way.
When you started showing interest in the business, real time, your dad gave you the opportunity to learn from some incredible portrait photographers all across the United States. And that's something that I think has instilled in you the passion of the art plus the business side too. So your dad gave you all these amazing opportunities to learn from these people, and not just him. To me, it would have been amazing enough to learn from your dad because he was such a great artist, but to be able to learn from other people, and he knew that perspective was important too. So I just think that was a great thing. And it's been a great thing for me to be a part of too. You know, not being blood family, but being married into it. Our clients have seen us date and us get engaged and get married, and they've literally seen us grow up as adults, you know, and now we have children who are kind of interested in at least seeing the working parts of the studio. So it's transitioning into that third generation interest, which is so neat. And now we get to see clients where your dad photographed their wedding, and now we're photographing their grandchildren. It's really, really neat to see from my perspective, marrying into the family, to see how close-knit we all are. You know, even though Greenville and the state of South Carolina is growing so big and we get to see new people come in, it's still cool to see just how small it is too, because they're coming back to us.
Yeah, totally agree. And, you know, that's one thing about what I do here, or what we do here at the studio. At the end of the day, yes, that camera is nothing but a tool for me, because my true passion is people. I love connecting with people in the camera room, and, you know, different personalities. I like connecting with different personalities because everyone is so different and everyone has a voice. And we've always said every face has a story. Every family has a story. And as a portrait artist, I want to communicate that story in a portrait.
Yeah.
I want to communicate through wall portraits.
Yeah. I mean, a moment is very short. And we get excited when we're in the camera room or when we see it in the proofing room. That moment that's caught. It's like, oh my goodness, that's what we wanted to see. We wanted to see that person become real in front of us. Because a lot of times our clients come in and they don't know what to expect, especially if they've never been to us before. They don't know, you know, it is not a natural thing to have a portrait taken.
Yeah.
I mean, in my opinion, it's not natural to be in front of a camera and pose and, you know, put on your best expression. But when we're able to capture that, I don't care if they're a 1-year-old all the way up to a 90-year-old, when we capture that glimpse of real for them, it's amazing. It really is. When they take off their guards and they become relaxed and they become themselves, it's magic. And it's something that you want to hang on your wall forever. And that's where the passion, that's where I see it as artwork, is the true them. Whether they're giggling or whether they're serious or whatever, they take their guards off and they become themselves.
Yeah, I agree. So what do you want the Phil Hyman Portraits legacy to be?
I just want to be able to be a part of people's story. Being able to capture that moment and for them to remember, oh, I had such an amazing experience at this studio, like no other studio around. They saw me, they heard my story, and they was able to capture it. That's what I feel like is a real legacy. I think it's cool that our kids are, you know, wanting to be a part of it and continue it, maybe, you know, they're in the early stages of that. But I feel like what's lasting is what we're able to capture for people, because 50 years from now, that portrait's still going to be hanging on their walls, and the stories behind it and the stories of how they got it captured, that's what keeps our name moving forward.
Well, okay, so let's talk about that right there. Because, you know, we photographed a family a month ago, 2 months ago, actually. And we photographed this family, and, oh, yeah, you know, you photographed my parents. And so, you know, we were just talking about them, and we didn't truly make the connection until she come in to pick up her portraits.
Right.
And her parents, get this is, I mean, it's like one of those small world moments. Her parents, my dad photographed her parents' wedding.
Yep.
And her mom directed
Our wedding.
our wedding.
And we didn't even know it.
And
we were like, what in the world?
Yeah, so, I mean, but to me, that's what legacy is.
Yep.
Is making those connections. And we have people come in and we're photographing. Matter of fact, the first bride my dad ever photographed, we have photographed her grandchildren.
Yep.
And she stays in touch with us. And that's what it's about.
It's those relationships that you've built.
Yeah.
That's what keeps your name going and the love behind those portraits going. And we get to see the outcomes of it.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps our passion flowing to continue to do this. And our team members are seeing it too. They're starting to feel that relational importance when it comes to the legacy behind this studio. And they think it's awesome too.
Absolutely.
So, which makes them work even harder at building relationships, even in their small little roles here or big roles in this studio, because they know how important it is. Because what keeps people coming back is the connection.
Yeah.
Not necessarily always the product. Yes, the product is important. The outcome of the artwork is important, and the quality is extremely important. But to me, it's the connections that keeps me going back to people I work with.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. It's been a great conversation.
yes, I love it.
The legacy is important, and a lot of people think legacy is material things. Legacy is not material things. Legacy is what is in your heart and what you pass on to others.
Yeah.
What you pass on to your children, what you pass on to your community, to the Greenville community. Legacy is what have you given back to the community? What have you given emotionally and to your children? What are those life lessons that you so generally taught to your kids?
Yeah.
That's legacy. Legacy is not physical stuff.
Yep.
So,
Love it.
great.